What is up, YouTube? T-Roy here, and you guessed it, big, beautiful Deer Park, Texas. Just hope you guys are having a great winter and having a great week. Everything's going well. I'm a little tired, by the way. If I look tired, I am. Not going to go into that, but my dad's been in the hospital. We've been up there a whole lot. So I wanted to address something. I know this seems to be the topic of the last few weeks with the internet. All you gearheads and guitar players out there, if you're watching this, you probably are also subscribed to many other channels, such as the big boys, like I call the big boys, much bigger than us, like Phil McKnight or the Tone King or Pixie Licks or any of those guys out there. And all of them have made videos on this. I thought I would make one in a little different angle, and so you're not seeing the same thing. My take on the Gibson situation, everybody's talking about Gibson not going to NAMM, and what I think about it. And I wanted to give a little history on myself, my history in this industry, and the experiences with Gibson, and why we're not a dealer anymore, and why, you know, all the little things I feel like has contributed to Gibson's, not only I say demise, but their situation they're in right now. First, I'll go back. I've been in this industry. If you guys have watched my videos before, you probably know I did a little kind of a history on myself and on what's going on when we started the channel. But for you that are new to watching this or haven't seen it, you can go back and check it out. But if not, I'll give you a little bit. But I've been in this business for about 30 years. Actually, this August of 2018 will be 30 years. I was a super young man when we got into this. My dad bought a music store in August of 1988. I grew up in it and eventually went on to open my own store. When we first opened back in 88, or first bought the store back in 88, we're a small mom and pop store, about a 3,000 square foot store. It was a decent size, but we weren't one of the big boys. We were just, you know, back then what was the bread and butter for most of these guitar companies. We're a dealer of Gibson. We were a dealer of Martin. We were a dealer of Fender. We were an Ibanez dealer. We had all the brands, and many of them. We had a pretty good selection. It was great for the first, I would say the first, 6 or 7 years when we were with them. But we started seeing, as time went on, about the mid-90s came. Our Gibson dealer came into our store one day, and he said, he talked to my dad, and he was there for it was the first of the year, and he said, okay, we need to do a re-up. And my dad's like, okay. And he said, you need the buy-in, that we've changed the numbers, but you're gonna have to commit and buy in with 20 pieces. And of course that infuriated my dad, because we are a small mom and pop. That's a big commitment. Even back in the mid-90s, they're not near the crazy prices that Gibson has done, and that's another story. I do want to address that, but not right this second. But they still were expensive. I mean, most of your even the Les Pauls, the Les Paul Lights, and the things they're hot back in that day. We sold a lot of. They were right at $1,000. Some of them were up to more $1,500 range, and so they were all that was a big commitment for a small mom and pop. But the biggest problem was we had on the wall. He looked up at the wall when our rep asked, and he said, "Hey, what do you see on that wall right there?" And of course our rep looked up and he said, "Well, I see Gibsons." He said, "There's probably," we counted them, I think around 26, 27 Gibson guitars on the wall. And for a small mom and pop store, that is a great selection. You have to think, you go into these 10,000 square foot guitar centers, sometimes they don't have 30 Gibsons hanging on the wall in those stores. Matter of fact, a lot of the time they don't. Back in the day, you could do that, and we had a great selection. My dad said, if I commit 20 more pieces right now and then you want me to buy through the year, he said, I might as well go out to there and pull that sign off the front and call it, hey, we're a Gibson store. If we're hanging 50 plus pieces of Gibson on my walls, we are a 3,000 square foot store. Only so much room especially when you're carrying Fender and Martin and Ibanez, and we had them all. We had Alvarez. We had we had a lot of brands that GIBSON. We carried a lot of great brands back then, and that was a big commitment. And of course, my dad it sent him over the roof. He said, finally, he tells our rep, he said, "I'm gonna tell you something." He said, if this is what you're asking of us, then you can get your stuff, and y'all can leave out of my store. Now, my dad is not he's a very kind man. He's not that's not his MO. So before he left, he told our rep, he said, "Hey man, look, I want to make sure we make this right between me and you. You know, you're our rep. We've gotten to be good friends with you. I'm not mad at you, but I'm mad at your company for what they're asking us to do after we've been great dealers. We buy throughout the year continually, steadily from you, and when we have this many pieces hanging on our wall, and you expect us to buy this many more." Before that, we really didn't have the internet. You know, back in '88 when we got it, you know, internet was really, you had some computers here and there, but it was non-existent. You know, a musician's friend was more or less, they would send out mailers in the mail, and people, if you remember that, if you're old enough to remember, we would order that way. The internet didn't really come on strong till the late 90s, and people started getting computers throughout the mid 90s also. But you know, we saw the writing on the wall. Gibson did not care, in my opinion and in my experience, for the small dealer who was their bread and butter for so many years. We were you know, us and many stores like us were what they relied on. This was before GC went crazy and expanded so much in the late 90s, early 2000s, when they were opening stores left and right. Guitar Center was starting to be, I'm sure, a strong buyer for them, and I know Guitar Center's been around for many years, and of course Musician's Friend, which Guitar Center acquired in 1999. So I had a lot of dealer friends, you know, in the industry. We all know each other, all the small dealers, or a lot of us do, especially in my area. And then at the NAMM shows, you know, I've met so many dealers over the years that have echoed the same sentiments and how they were treated also by Gibson throughout. I know Phil McKnight, I saw a video of him talking about this situation, and he said something that I totally agree with. If you've been going to NAMM for any amount of time, and I haven't missed a NAMM show in the last probably 15 years. Well, actually I did. I missed one NAMM show in the last since 2003-ish. 3 or 4 or 2 maybe, somewhere in that area. I missed one NAMM show, so I've been there many years, and every time I go, I used to, even after we no longer had Gibson, when I opened my store in 2002 or 3 rather, I'm sorry, I would go every year to the Gibson booth, and I swear you'd walk up to them, and if you weren't a dealer, they literally, it was like the Secret Service. You know, they would not allow you in the booth. It was like they were thumbing your nose. You're not good enough to be in here unless you're a dealer and you're buying so much stuff. And that's the way you felt as a small dealer. And I know I'm not the only one. I'm not being a crybaby. Many dealers felt the same way. So it wasn't until really the last 2 or 3, 4 years that they started opening the doors where you could go in and anybody could go in and look anymore. But for a long time, there was 1 hour at the end of the day that they would let the peons in, and that's really what you felt like. Oh, we get to go up to Gibson and see what they got. I didn't even bother anymore. It really made me angry the way we were treated. If you didn't have an appointment, and if you had an appointment, even then, your rep had to be there. They wouldn't let you in. And if you tried to go in, of course, they would stop you. But if your rep wasn't there for whatever reason, maybe they were running late, maybe they forgot, or something happened, I don't know. But you wouldn't get in. But if you were a dealer like me and were interested in possibly carrying Gibson again, you would go up and ask someone to, hey, can you get somebody in contact? I'd like to speak to somebody while we're here about possibly coming to dealer. No, sir, they would not. It was just flat out pretty much a no everywhere. And so you really didn't feel, you felt like a little peon, like you weren't worthy. And at least that was my feelings. And I know there's a lot of people that echoed that. So Gibson really shot themselves in the foot there, in my opinion. Now, fast forward to here and now, 2018, you've got Guitar Center, who is in a triple C negative or something like that. They were just downgraded just recently. So they're very close to, there's really nowhere to go from there, hardly. and you've got A reorganization, I guess they could do, but what, 3 years ago they reorganized, 3 or 4 years ago, and they can't keep kicking the can down the road. Eventually they're going to have to figure something out, and I think they have, if I remember right, and I may be wrong on this, but I think it's April or something. They have to figure something out. And for me, I have a little different opinion than a lot of people. They say, well, they may reorganize again. I don't think they will. I don't think they can again. They either, one, are going to get bought out with somebody who has a lot of money to infuse in them, or two, I feel like there's going to be store closings. I feel like that maybe they're going to downsize and try to do it that way. Here's the problem. Why I'm saying all this and talking about GC is Gibson is over $500 million in debt, and then now they're going to they've hitched their wagon to a ship that's sinking right now themselves. The future does not look great for Gibson. It really doesn't. Now, you might say, well, what, are they just going to shut the company down? No, Gibson's not going anywhere. They're not going by the wayside. Gibson's one of the 3 iconic brands, 3 or 4. There's a lot there, you know, this is debatable, but you know, you could say Gibson, Fender, and Martin guitar are synonymous. You know, they've been around forever. They're big names, still are big names. They're not going to go anywhere. Possibly somebody again may buy them out, reorganize, figure out what the problem is. I feel like it's from the CEO, the top down. There's a lot of issues there that they need to figure out. I think a lot of bad decisions have been made over the last years, and even with how they've treated the smaller guy. I have a little disdain for them at times. Even though I'm a Gibson player, I have some Gibsons in my clone collection. I love the guitars. It's not the guitar's fault. They have a great product. I know now they're quality controlled. They have issues there. They have a lot of issues, but the guitar overall, when it's rolling the right way, is a great guitar for the most part, especially the older ones. They've come to a point now, it's really in a bad situation. Something will have to give in 2018 for both Gibson and Guitar Center. The NAMM show doesn't surprise me. Do I care? Not really, because when I go there, again, I don't go for Gibson anymore. I used to go up there and try to get in, try to see, but I just felt like, man, I'm a little peon, I'm nothing, you know, and that's the way they made you feel. If you didn't have monster buying power, I almost felt like you weren't interested. Same went for Epiphone. I remember when I tried to buy in with Epiphone when I opened this store back in 2002. I said, look, I don't even want Gibson. I just like to buy in with Epiphone. And the buy-in amount was astronomical. It was crazy, and I'm like, wow. So for a small mom and pop, it wasn't even feasible. It just wasn't something that could be done. So I'm hoping that Gibson gets this right, whoever buys them out or whatever they do to make this work, if they can figure it out. Like I said, the brand's not going anywhere. I don't feel like. I mean, you don't just bury Gibson after this many years of being one of the, you know, arguably one of the greatest brands in guitars, one of the 3 or 4. It's not going to happen. Something's going to happen where somebody's going to buy them, or whatever happens, they reorganize, whatever they need to do, but they need to get this right, and I hope they start treating other dealers a little better than they have in the past. That's pretty much all I wanted to talk about. I did want to throw that little perspective in there, just from my experience and how we were treated, and I feel like I speak for a lot of other small mom and pop stores throughout the nation. Please comment in the box below. Tell me if there's something you want me to do or haven't done, or a question or whatever. I'd love to. I try to get back to each and every one of you that do comment. Like I said, if you don't mind, hit that subscribe button, and also give us a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video, and hope to see you guys at NAMM. If you see me at NAMM, even though I don't have a real big channel yet, if some of you guys are at NAMM and see me, please come up and say hello. I'd love to talk to you guys, and I appreciate your support. And that's pretty much it. Hope to see you soon. And by the way, I will be putting out content from NAMM. I'm going to be taking my laptop to do some editing and stuff, so I'll be able to put some content of the show. I'm going to try to do it every day, so there'll be things rolling out that are fresh for you guys. So anyway, again, hopefully you'll consider subscribing. Have a great day, and remember guys, play like it's your last day. We'll see you guys later. Thanks.